Hey everyone, Yesh here, and today we're going to talk about Infinity War and talk about the perfect weather to talk about a movie like this. Yeah, and I'm not saying that because the movie is bad. No, this movie is phenomenal. I think this movie is on the same level of Captain America Civil War, where it's one of Marvel's best films to date. They did it once again. They topped themselves. This movie is better. See, like, in my opinion, I'm always going to go with the first Avengers film and Captain America Winter Soldier as, like, the best films in the MCU for personal reasons. But once again, I completely get it if people say, like, Infinity War is the best film in the entire MCU. Because that movie is literally I think this movie is a perfect example of a pure comic book coming to life. Like, we've had many adaptations of comic books being made into films, but they've always been adapted into a film format. They've always had the limitations, and in a way were limitations because they had to make films for a wide audience. They had to make films in a certain structure where audiences can understand. They had to tell stories in a way which could be something that would appeal to mass audiences. There were some limitations. Marvel's been able to push that limit by doing things like The Avengers, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther even. But Infinity War truly felt like unapologetic, pure comic book come to life. I mean, everybody's talked about how this movie's great, all the cast of characters, interactions, like all that stuff is great. But I think the one thing that people truly is underestimated or is seen as underrated is just how much this movie truly feels like a comic book come to life. You have moments between characters, and the reason is because the way the tones change, but it never feels off tone. It never feels like the tones are like you're going from wacky to serious in a way that doesn't feel natural. This movie is perfect in how it naturally shifts between dramatic and wacky fun tones. And it does it in such a sincere way that it works, and it's great for that. And I feel another big thing about this movie is this is a great edited film. Like, this film is perfect in terms of anyone who ever wants to get into editing as part of like film. They're big into editing. They want to learn how to edit movies or whatever. This movie is like the perfect film to watch how to properly edit a movie, because so much stuff happens in this movie. You have all these Avengers meeting each other. You have Tony Stark meeting Doctor Strange. You have how Spider-Man comes into the picture. You see how it all starts in New York and then it goes into space. You see how we're in Europe all of a sudden with the Scarlet Witch and Vision, and then how Captain America and Black Widow and Falcon all come into the mixture. And then you see all of them at Avengers headquarters. And then you see them all of them at in Wakanda, and then you see how in space Thor meets the Guardians, and then how Thor, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot go on their side mission to go to Nidavellir to build that Thanos killing weapon called Stormbreaker. And then you have all the Guardians going after Thanos, and then you see how the Guardians of the Galaxy meets Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, and then you see the battle on Titan, and then you see the battle on Wakanda, and then you see all this, and it's just one after another. There's just some epic great thing, but it works. It all feels natural. None of it feels like they're giving you too much to where you can't be invested. I mean, this movie plays on the Lord of the Rings mentality of, yes, a movie like Return of the King is long and convoluted and a lot happens, but it works. One, because it's told in a very emotionally and methodic way. And it's also banking on the fact that you've seen the first two films and you have an emotional attachment to those films. So you want to see the third film in the trilogy. You want to see it end properly. So it's not, and Marvel knows that. They know that with a movie like this, we don't need to introduce anyone. You know who these characters are. You know these worlds. You know all of this stuff. You know everything that's about to go down because it's been hyped up and built up and told properly in previous films. It's been hinted at in a very proper way that's never been hitting you on the head, but told very subtly. And now you see it all come to fruition in Infinity War, and it's great for that. In fact, really, this is Thanos' movie. This is the first time where we actually get to see Thanos. I mean, he's made appearances in earlier films in terms of Guardian of the Galaxy, and then the teaser at the end of Avengers, and then Avengers: Age of Ultron once again. But this is the first time where we actually get to see his personality. We get to see his convictions. We get to see his mannerisms, who he is, what he believes in, and Thanos is honestly the Darth Vader of our generation. The way Star Wars became iconic, the way Darth Vader became iconic, the way that trilogy became iconic, Thanos is our Darth Vader. Thanos is the iconic villain of our time that I really believe will be remembered for years from now as one of the classic film villains, one of the great film villains. And it really is incredible to grow up in a time in cinema where we get to experience such a great villain in such a great story. And having said that, Thanos is like the Darth Vader of our time. Infinity War is like the Empire Strikes Back of our time. And I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie already, because if you haven't, then you know the ending at this point. Either you know the ending or you don't care. But even if you don't care, I'm sure you heard about it. But the ending is the Avengers lost and Thanos won. And half the universe was gone, destroyed, turned to dust. And that, I think, is beautiful. Not to say I'm for destroying half the universe. I'm just saying that I appreciate the Marvel and the storytellers for having the courage to do that, to literally wipe out half their characters like that. I know it's easy to say like, oh, but just wait till the next film. They'll come back. They'll do some ex machina, Deus ex machina, or just something to bring it back. But it's like, it's still jarring. It's still unexpected. It's still very weird and different, and you don't know what's gonna happen now. It's like, okay, half the universe is gone. Okay, well, yeah, yes, of course we know they're all gonna come back. Spider-Man will have a movie coming out the same year as Endgame, so we know he's not gone forever. But at the same time, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey, and that's what gives you those emotions, that gives you that tension, that fear, that, oh my God, what's gonna happen now? It's all about that emotional connection that gives you that shock and hype, and that's what Infinity War did successfully. It was the Empire Strikes Back of our time. It was truly this thing we did not expect, and it ended on a dark note that we don't know what's gonna happen. Even the end credits scene, not the end credits scene, but the end credits themselves, the movie just ends with Thanos walking on his home planet, on his farm, and just sitting down and just looking up at the sunrise. And then, as he said, foreshadowing, as he said earlier in the film, he'll just watch the sunrise. After it's all over, he's just going to watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. And we have that final scene in the movie where he does that. And it's like this weird balance of terrifying because he won, but awestruck. Like, you admire the man for his convictions. Like, you admire Thanos. And that's what makes Thanos a great villain, is you understand where he's coming from, where he's not trying to just kill everyone and take over the world. He feels that there's just not enough resources to to because he comes from a planet where his planet was overpopulated, and he suggested that if they wipe out half the planet, then their race will survive. But because they saw that as crazy, their the overpopulation took over, and their planet couldn't handle it, and his entire race died. And so Thanos feels that that's what's going to happen to the universe. That it's his conviction that he has to destroy half the universe in order to save the universe. And that's what he truly believes. And that's what I admire about how they wrote this villain. And Josh Brolin acted in this film. And Josh Brolin's a great actor. I love that they got someone. And again, I love that tradition of getting actors who are not usually known for doing these kind of big budget summer blockbusters. They're usually into like serious, dramatic, Oscar style, those kinds of films. But if you give them a really good role where they could be a good fit for and they deliver, it's like an Oscar performance in this big summer blockbuster CGI action film. And Josh Brolin gives an Oscar performance in portraying Thanos. And it's because he's also given great writing. The writing for the MCU is just phenomenal. I mean, Marcus and McFeely are definitely some of the best screenwriters of our time. They wrote majority of the MCU films, at least the big ones like the Avengers and all the Avengers films, and then Civil War, and I believe a few others here and there. But like they're the ones who really helped with writing this film series, and they've done it so beautifully. And the fact that this movie knows how to maintain the wacky fun with also the dark drama of the and tension of the situation is just it's comic books. I mean, that's the best part. That's the greatest thing about comic books is they always know how to blend the crazy, wacky, fun stuff with the dark drama, and it feels natural. And that's why this movie is just this movie really is an event film that truly is a film of our time. And yeah, I mean, the next film is Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's definitely going to be one of those, like, Endgame's going to be the next one for sure. And Infinity War, that movie's phenomenal.